video. Today I'm going to show more advanced GUI to make it so things anchor correctly. So I've not been seeing anything that really helps too much about that in Roblox Studio, of course. So I'm on the latest version for me. And let's just get right into it. First thing, we're just going to create a screen GUI inside a starter GUI, because you always want to put your GUI there. And then I'm going to add a frame. So if I go into here, you can see that the size has 4 parameters. These 4 parameters aren't just like different sizes and pixels. It's X scale, which is based off the window width, and then X offset, which is pixels. Then the same thing for Y. So if I set the X scale to 1, and then the X offset to 0, and the Y scale to 1, and the Y offset to 0, it'll fill the screen, because setting it to the window screen times 1, window screen times 1 as the size. And if I want it to cover the left half of the screen, I could do size is 0.5010, and it's now covering the left half of the screen. And just because you're using a scale doesn't mean you cannot do like -10 on the X size, or on the Y size, something like -110, which makes it go like that. But I'm going to undo those and make it go back to how it was. That's not really what I meant to do. 0.5010. So let's say you want to have a little bit of padding around the edges. One thing you could do, which is what I always do, is set, like if we want 5 pixels of padding, so I want it to be 0.5 minus 10, 1 minus 10. Just a padding times 2. Then what you need to do is position it by 5 pixels offset each side, because the offset is based off of pixels, not screen width. And then I'm going to turn off the border because I don't like borders. But now, as you see, there's a tiny bit of padding around these edges. And let's say you want to make something in here that has more padding. One thing you can do is the same exact thing. We'll make another frame. I'm going to make it a bit darker so you can see it. Turn off the border because I hate the border. And then set the size to 1, -10, 1, -10. And set the position to 0.505. And as you can see, we have another object with more padding. Then, with this frame, if we change the size of the Y, instead of be 0.5, so I'm going to cover the top half of the screen. But let's say, what if you want this whole thing right here to be on the right side of the screen instead? Well, we could try setting the position to be 1, -505, which should put it on the right side of the screen, right? No, because it's anchoring off the top left. So it means the top left point of the GUI is going to be right up there. But luckily, there is a pretty quick and easy fix for this. The anchor point parameter. With the anchor point, you can change where on the frame, sprite, text, or whatever thing it is. You can change that to be anything else, like any other point. So if I set it to 1, 0, it'll set it to the top right. So the top right is across the entire thing by 1, and that fixes it. And if I set this one to 1, that'll mean it's the bottom right, and it would put it back up there, which is not what we want. We want 1, 0. Now it's perfectly here. And as is the case with everything, you can set it to 0.50 if you want, and 0.5 for the position, the X scale for position, and now it's centered on the screen. This is the main thing, and if I want, there's one more thing. It's the UI grid layout. This UI grid layout, you can set the padding of any cell, and you can set the size of the cells. So let's say I want the size to be 1, 0, 0.1, 0. And then we'll set the padding to be 0, 0, 0, 0. And as you see, the frame is that size. And if I duplicate it, it makes another one, then another one, then another one. So it'll fill them in. But I could also go here and set the size to be like 1, 0, 0, 5. And now as you see, they're only 5 pixels tall, which is very useful. And so there's one more thing. I'm going to remove most of these. And also every single GUI object you can do this with. One more thing, these position and size. The type of this is UDIM2. So if I were to make a script, probably a local script because that's what you use in GUI, local size equals, it's a UDIM2, so you make a new UDIM2, and then 0, which is the X scale, 0, which is the X offset, I'm just making an empty one, 0, which is the Y scale, and 0, which is the Y offset. So this is what a UDIM2 looks like. It's just 4 parameters. It's really easy to understand. Then the anchor point is just a, if I do the local anchor point, is just equal to a vector2.new and defaults to 0, which is the X, and then 0, which is the Y. So these are super easy to understand. It's just something I accidentally put on there. It's just something that I haven't seen many people understanding, and something that not many people have seemed to make anything for. So I just wanted to show you this. So if you ever need to understand GUI, you can do that. And also, one more thing I just realized. If I go to this frame right here, if I want it to be at a bit of an angle, there is a rotation parameter. No one's ever been using this. You can set it to something like -5, to have slight thing, or if you want to not have negatives, you can do 355, and it's the same exact thing. So as you can see, that works pretty well. And if I set this back to 0, and then I go here, if I set the rotation of this to like 10, it rotates all the children inside of it. The one thing to be wary of, it makes it a little lower quality whenever you rotate it. So that's going to be it for this tutorial. Hopefully now you can make your GUI correctly. And I'll be making some more sometime. See ya!